What will the final day of judgment look like? This is a hard question, but a very necessary one, because you cannot flee from the wrath to come if you don't really understand what the wrath is and what it will look like. This is Eric Slaywick, the UWM Penn guy, and this is the Bible Commentary. As always, if you like what you're seeing, I'd ask that you hit like and subscribe in order to help the channel grow. Now, without further ado, let's get into the Word. So, to be clear, it's not as if though I'm trying to constantly bring up the theme of God's judgment. It's that it's what's in the text of Scripture, and I'm not going to avoid it simply because it's difficult. Today we're going to cover verses 24 through 29. So let's begin with verse 24 and 25. When Israel had finished killing all the inhabitants of Ai in the open wilderness where they pursued them, and all of them to the very last had fallen by the edge of the sword, all Israel returned to Ai and struck it down with the edge of the sword. And all those who fell that day, both men and women, were 12,000, all the people of Ai. This is one of these passages where we have to reckon with what God has ordered Israel to do. As any study of the law will cover, we have to deal with the fact that God ordered the destruction of every man, woman, and child. It's emphatic here. Now, I can't even remember if I've gone through this in the past, but I'll thumbnail it here. You can see how wicked these people are throughout the law. I will list several examples here of the kinds of things that God had to warn the Israelites not to commit because the people of the land were committing them. We're talking about they were so incestuous, for example, that God had to lay down in detail what is and is not incest because the Canaanites committed so much incest. We're talking about, to be blunt, bestiality. We're talking about a kind of worship that the Israelites later picked up themselves in Jeremiah 7, where the babies were put on the burning hands of the statue of Molech, I believe, and I'll print out the passage here, but it's grotesque. The priests would beat the drums to drown out the screams of the dying infant because the infant was being offered to the god in order to gain the god's favor. These are the kinds of people we're talking about here. We're talking about people who are cruel and merciless. The description that really Paul gives in, I'll put up one here from Romans 1, backbiting, malicious, gossiping, murderous, lying, slandering. And then in Romans 3, he says there is no fear of God before these people's eyes. It's more complicated today, as I suggested previously, because of the legacy of the gospel, but this is a brief outline. The people deserved it. Every guilty sinner deserves it, but it was really obvious in their case. Now, in verse 25, it's worth noting to kind of just not to hide from the emphatic point here that in this final reckoning with the people of Ai, these were small numbers, but all of the killing had to be done by hand with the sword. It's one thing to hit a button and blow up a whole city, as happened at the end of World War II. It's another thing to have to pick up that weapon and run it through every man, woman, and child in the city. I'm not going to hide it. It's what the scripture says. I already went into why it's just, but this is what the final reckoning will look like. It will be this hideous in a sense, in not that God is hideous or his judgment is hideous, but it will for lost people, it will be hideous and thorough down to the last, until every last sin is paid for, which will take forever.